All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're digging into a theory that tries to answer a really disturbing question. How do mass murderers choose their targets? The source material we're looking at here suggests there's one single and pretty controversial factor that connects almost all of them.
So this quote, this is really our starting point. The source claims this is a direct peek into the minds of these killers, taken from their own manifestos, and it presents a central puzzle for us. The idea that a place's gun policy isn't just some random detail, but maybe the most important factor in their decision-making.
So, to really wrap our heads around this theory, we have to start by looking at the attacker's mindset. Let's break down what our source claims are the main goals behind these attacks, which, believe it or not, are often planned out in incredible detail.
Now, what's so wild here is the cold-blooded logic the source describes. Even though these attackers are often suicidal, their actions are presented as the exact opposite of random. These are projects, sometimes in the works for years, with a very clear checklist. Cause as many casualties as possible, get maximum media attention, and, this is the absolute key, face the least amount of resistance.
Okay, so let's get to the heart of the theory itself. The source claims that if you actually look at where these attacks are happening, a really stark pattern starts to emerge. One that has less to do with the type of location, like a school or a theater, and everything to do with a specific rule it has. The argument, then, is that these locations are not chosen by chance. Not at all. The source says it zeroed in on one common denominator that it claims is present in the overwhelming majority of these mass public shootings in the United States. And there it is, the single most important statistic from our source. The claim that 93% of mass public shootings take place in locations where ordinary citizens are forbidden from carrying guns. This number, this is the entire foundation of the gun-free zone theory.
And this quote from the source really just hammers the point home. The argument is that this 93% figure isn't just some random fluke in the data. No, it's the result of a deliberate, strategic choice made by attackers who are specifically looking for venues where they know they will be the only one with a weapon.
But what about outside the US? Does this pattern hold up? The source expands its analysis to see if this theory applies in countries with totally different and often way stricter gun laws.
So, just so we're all on the same page, when the source talks about gun control, it's referring to this whole web of laws that govern firearms. This is really key context for the international examples we're about to look at.
Just look at these two examples from the source. You've got the Bataclan theater attack in France and the massacre on Utøya Island in Norway. Now the point the source is making here is huge. These were two of the deadliest mass shootings in modern history, and they both took place in countries with some of the strictest gun control laws on Earth.
And to really drive this point home, the source also points to Germany. It claims that on a per-person basis, Germany's rate of school shootings is actually higher than in the US, even with its own strict laws. The argument underneath all of this is that the laws themselves just don't deter a killer who is truly committed.
Which brings us to what the source presents as the central paradox of this whole thing. The idea that a law designed to create a safe space could, unintentionally, be making it a more attractive target for the worst kind of person.
So, let's break down the logic here with the source's own example. For a law-abiding person, taking a gun into a school could land him a 5-year prison sentence. That's life-changing. But for a mass murderer who is already about to commit acts that will get them multiple life sentences, what's another 5 years? According to the source, that extra penalty is completely meaningless to them. It doesn't factor into their math at all.
So here's how the source lays out this perverse incentive logic. It goes like this. Step 1. A law is passed to make a so-called safe gun-free zone. Step 2, that means the good guys, the law-abiding citizens, are disarmed in that area. Step 3, a killer, whose #1 goal is to face no resistance, sees this and thinks, perfect. The final and honestly pretty disturbing conclusion is that the law itself has accidentally created the perfect hunting ground.
Okay, so let's get to the conclusion of this whole argument. This is where the source explains its central frustration with the public conversation that happens after one of these horrific attacks.
And it all comes right back to where we started. The source argues that this isn't just some theory they cooked up. It's a stated motivation. The claim is that in their diaries, in their manifestos, the killers explicitly say they choose gun-free zones for one simple reason. They know they won't be stopped. Which leaves us with this final, very provocative question from the source. If the attackers are telling us in their own words why they choose their targets, why isn't that considered part of the story? It's a challenging question, for sure.
And it's the very core of the theory we've just explored.